Hello, welcome to the Ashley Lay Real Estate Podcast. Today, it's cold. The market seems even colder, and every headline out there says we're in trouble. But today, I have Kevin Lay of Ashley Lay Real Estate here with us. He's kind of our economics guru and loves to look at all the numbers and the economic stuff. He wants to make sure that you know that he does not predict the future and does not give economic advice. However, he does like looking at it and talking about it. So we figured we'd bring him on once again to kind of talk about what's happened in the real estate market and in the economy at large in 2022, and maybe what we can expect but not predict out of early 2023. Kevin, welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you, and good morning. And that is a true statement. I don't want to say winter is coming and mean it in the economic sense. At the same time, the government does want to slow down inflation. And their one lever to do that is interest rates, which they have applied and applied. It's almost like a brakeman on the railroad pulling the lever and it's nothing happening because the train keeps going. So inflation is still pretty high and interest rates are going higher. I expect that the 75 basis points that they've raised it may continue, but probably will start to drop off. So it's almost like they pull the trigger, they pull the lever, and then they try to figure out, did that work? Did that work? Did that work? So it's not an exact science. We read all these things and we see all this information in the media. This is this, and this is this, and this is absolute. There are no absolutes in economics.
And that's a great point. I mean, I think of one of my favorite movies, and this is a little goofy, but it's Emperor's New Groove. And there's one scene where the villain's trying to get rid of the good guy, and she's like, pull the lever. And they pull a lever, and she goes, wrong lever. And so that's kind of what I picture all of these decision makers doing right now, is just trying all these different things. And I mean, I'm not smart enough / have applied myself enough to learn all of these things. You said 75 base points. What does that really mean, or how does that affect everybody, let's say in Winston-Salem, North Carolina?
Well, what they're trying to do is they raise the overnight lending rate, and that is to slow down inflation because it basically it puts a brake on the runaway train that is inflation. And when they do that, it hits your credit card bill, for the interest rate pretty quickly, and other lending rates to the banks. It is not exact on mortgage rates, but it can be argued pretty close. So as interest rates go down, you're basically wanting to slow down how fast consumers are buying because of inflation. I've heard it said that inflation is the quickest way to polarize the democracy, which is a strong statement. At the same time, I've heard that multiple places. And the reason is, in inflation, people with money tend to have more money, and the people without money tend to have less money and feel the pain even worse. So they're trying to put the brakes on. And they do this, and that affects how we can get money. If you want to buy a car and can't pay cash for it, you need to borrow some money, it's going to affect it. Now, that being said, as things slow down, their intention, it might be that certain car manufacturers have an excess of cars and the kind of car that you wanted. So they might offer a discount for that particular car. Well, it's the same type of thing in the real estate market, which is sort of where if you're listening to this podcast, that's probably what you're wondering. Prices have been going up at a rapid rate in the triad. We've seen this all over the country over the past year. And now in other parts of the country, prices are dropping pretty rapidly. We're not experiencing that here. And I'm going to put a yet, but I'm going to put that in parentheses.
Okay. All right.
Because theoretically, as interest rates go down, the economy slows down, the winter, prices should come down from where they were. At the same time, our inventory of houses, or the number of people that have moved to the Triad in North Carolina, there's a lot more people here, and we just haven't kept up with the amount of building. So if you look at the historic level of inventory, is it up? Yes. It got down to 1,000 units for sale in the Triad in our MLS back in March. Now it's almost 3,000. So you say, oh my gosh, that's a lot more. Well, a few years ago it was 14,000.
Yeah.
Several years ago, and there was a lot fewer people here. So if you look at it from the history of the whole thing, interest rates are at 7%. I paid almost 10% for my first house. If you talk to others, they have paid 15 and 17% on a mortgage. So, it's all sort of in perspective of what are interest rates. Is it better to have a 3% mortgage than a 10% mortgage? Absolutely. Am I happy that I bought my first house? Absolutely. I had my first child, and we had a home, and he crawled around on the carpet, and he pulled down the Christmas tree, and we had family gatherings there.
Yep.
So it really gets into what is your motivation? What are you trying to accomplish? Will prices come down? I think that's a question that we see. Prices are coming down. They might. Boy, that sounds real definitive, doesn't it?
They haven't yet in our area.
Haven't yet. We are seeing some price reductions over our listings. When we put a listing on the market, we want to price it as appropriately as possible. That is what every real estate agent is trying to do, so that they can help you make the most money in the quickest amount of time. And my fingers are disappearing, sorry. And in the quickest amount of time, and help you to move on to the next thing you want to do. But just like the levers for the government, when we do the most appropriate price that we feel is correct for your home, sometimes there are people still coming in, and we're still seeing some multiple offers. However, we are seeing other homes that are staying a few more days on the market. This is not like it was 8 months ago. But do understand, this is more normal as how it was 5, 10, 15 years ago. So it depends on the era of time you're in, the particular SNP, because sure, it's better to have 3% interest rates, but it's also better to be in a house with your kids playing in the house or not playing in the house, or we hear all sorts of situations.
Well, and I want to stop you there because you said something really key. And I know this is kind of an inside joke with our team, but at the same time, there are times where somebody says something really important and you just say, stop, say this for effect. And I'm going to say, stop, Kevin, say this for effect, because you said that we're actually becoming more normal in our market. Everybody's seeing all of these interest rates that are hiking up and these possible price decreases whenever they're coming as kind of the sky is falling. Oh no, it could be 20 or 2008 all over again. Is it that? And what we've seen and what we've experienced is insanity on the other end of the spectrum for sellers of, tons of money down in due diligence, 20, 30 offers on a single property. And now we're still normalizing. Yes, it's gone down, but what it's going down from wasn't the normal.
Right. That's the very strong point. When I started in real estate almost exactly 4 years ago, when we were putting down due diligence, it was normal, reasonable, get an offer accepted at $500 and $1,000 for due diligence. Okay. That being said, have some friends over in Raleigh that are real estate agents. And when his sister that we were helping was buying a home here, he called me and said, you only put $1,000 due diligence. And I'm like, yes. And he said, over here in Raleigh, it's normal to have $5,000 or even $10,000 in due diligence. It's like, oh gosh, that's incredible. That's a huge number. I can't imagine doing that. In the past year, our office has had $100,000 due diligence.
Yep.
That's crazy. Those people absolutely wanted to buy the house, and they did, and it was all great. However, that's huge, and that's how quickly the market has changed. And we're not near 500 or 1,000 in due diligence now. but it's certainly come down to out of the stratosphere, if you will. So yeah, it's coming back to more normal than anything, rather than the sky's falling.
And would you say from, being in real estate for the short time that you have been, but also just kind of understanding numbers at a different level than some people, is a balanced real estate market, while it might not stay balanced for a long time, is a balanced real estate market healthy for the economy at large?
Yes, it becomes the way things were 8 months and a year, or even 2 years ago. People were fighting to get in the houses, and they were coming and they were seeing the house, and they were in there 15 minutes, and it looked like a zoo. And even in the triad, we didn't experience that back in 2008 so much. And I say that because Ashley was in real estate many years before I was, and so I joked I was sort of a real estate agent accidentally. Well, I worked and saw what she went through back then, so we didn't experience the craziness of 2008 like other places like Arizona, California, Florida did. That being said, we saw some of it in the past year or two. Now we're not seeing that. It's much better for buyers not to feel like they have to make a decision in 5 minutes, or whether they, you got to put all this due diligence, you got to do this. So there are more houses on the market. We are still in a seller's market, though. I think that's what people are missing, is we're still in a seller's market for.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because we are still seeing some multiple offer situations. Now it's not multiple 10s, 20s, 30s offer situations, but there are still more buyers in general than there are homes in certain buyers' price points for sale.
Right.
And while buyers might actually be able to, communicate a negotiation, or maybe two at this point, that's more than what you said they were getting 8 months ago, where it's like, how much more is the person beside me in the open house putting down so that I'm not going to be able to get this house? There's at least a healthy competition now.
Yes, I think that it's a healthy competition instead of a dog eat dog. Throw him into the arena and see who comes out victorious.
Exactly.
To that point, it's been interesting to see the buyer say, "Oh, well, I want to put in a low ball offer." Like, okay, what do you mean by low ball?
Mm.
We've had people ask for 25, 50% off the price of the house. If that's, we can advise. If they ask us to do that, and it's the correct thing to do, we will do that. However, we want to help buyers get into homes, and the market has shifted. It has changed. It is changing, as in it's working right now. However, it has not fallen off. The sky is not falling. I think that's the strong message is, yes, it's changing. No, the sky is not falling.
Well, and we've had, I'm counting 6 rate hikes. Is that correct? In your, I think the feds have raised
I'll let
today. When I did the research for this podcast, it was 6 rate hikes, and I think there's another one possibly even coming before the end of the year. But in the triad, our January 22, the average home sale price in a triad was $270,000. At the end of October of 2022, the average home sale price had risen over $30,000 to $307,000.
Be a great investment if you bought one last year.
Exactly. But in the midst of all of those rate hikes, real estate in the triad is still appreciating. It is still gaining value. And so for, buyers or sellers out there that might be scared at just the movement of the market, to me, those numbers speak volumes to what this area has for people moving in.
Yes. And the value of the houses.
Yeah.
I mean, there are places around the country that we could buy 2 or 3 houses for what they buy one house for, same house.
Yep.
And the value of the house in the triad is it's great value, and it's a good place to live. So when you get down to it, it's going to continue to be a good place to live. and it's going to continue to be a good value. People are moving into North Carolina because of got a good climate, we've got mountains, we've got beach. The beach is not going anywhere. The mountains are not going to go anywhere.
Yep. And
It's
for the
going,
most part, fantastic weather as well.
yeah, it's going to be hot in the summer, and you might get to play golf in January, and you might see snow. So, from that aspect, North Carolina is very appealing, and it is going to continue to grow.
Absolutely. So let's transition a little bit. I know this kind of puts you on edge a little bit, but what is all of this shifting and the movement in the market from a practical sense standpoint? What does all of this mean for the real estate market in 2023 as we're looking ahead?
So, a few years ago, they said the market was going to shift and prices were going to go down. And they couldn't have been more wrong. So there's no faster, you read the disclaimer. There's no faster way to look like an idiot than predict the future. That being said, if you're trying to do a quick buy a house and you're going to buy it at the top of the market and you expect to sell it in 6 months or 8 months, make money, there's a certain element of risk to that. If you're planning to be in your house 5 or 10 years, oh my gosh, and the situation you're in, you need to be in another house or you want to be in another house. There are several predictions. Again, not my predictions. There are others. There are some people say that interest rates are going to continue to go up through 2023. However, there are many now that are saying that interest rates are going to go down by the end of 2023. And just like we had the refinance boom of the last few years, I can see that happening as well. I do not believe that we're going to have a drastic drop in prices. I strongly believe that. They may fall some, they may continue to go up because of the desirable location and the low inventory of homes.
Yep, and you're speaking right here in the triad.
Yes.
Yep.
I expect that we'll see some of this fluttering through February, not knowing and not feeling and anxiety. But I tell Ashley, back to I like to follow economics for years. When the daffodils come up, the buyers come out.
Yep.
And that's what I'm expecting.
Yep. Well, and you said again something that was very insightful. We're trying to, just give very casual predictions per se based off just common sense and what we think the market and the economy is doing, but we can't even predict our own lives in 6 months.
Right.
I mean, you might have a family issue arise, you might be welcoming a child or losing a loved one or ending a relationship. All life happens for every single human being, both on an individual level and then at scale on a business level that dictates all of these prices and buying and selling and all of the economics that goes into everything. And so I just want to make clear that while we're saying a lot of this stuff, we understand and we train our agents that life happens to everybody, and there's still going to be growing families, there's still going to be grieving families, and most of those times real estate is in the middle of a lot of those extended conversations after the situation happens.
That is exactly the conversation we had with some of our agents this morning already. Is that it's a couple, had a daughter go off to college, and one of the spouse's mother and one of the spouse's father had different situations come about, and so their life is changing. Everybody goes through life changes. We are trying to help navigate those changes with real estate. Some people want to buy, some people want to sell. They're going to continue to it's going to continue that people want to buy and sell because, as you just said, life happens and life is changing. And that's not going to change. Is that the only thing that doesn't change is God and change. The fact there's more change. And And when it comes down to it, that's what we're really trying to do is help folks navigate these changes.
Yeah.
Navigate, well, what is the value of my house? We can tell you what it is in our best opinion today. We have an inkling of what it will be like in 6 months, but we could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I have an inkling of back to the interest rates. We talked about interest rates. I have an inkling that they're going to raise rates a little bit more in December. I easily could be wrong. So how do we best navigate these? Some people need to sell their house today. They've taken a job, terrible. Just say.
They got to move into the new home before the holidays.
Yeah, I gotta get in a house. I gotta sell this house. I gotta move it. We're going to try to help you do that the best we can. But just know that people are still buying, people are still selling, and this will continue. So when you read that, I read this morning, buying is the worst time in some years to buy a house. It's like, well, what is that based on? So when we get into the media, this can be a boring subject for most, but the grabby headlines of, oh my gosh, this is terrible. That's what people love to read.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to be in a house for 5 or 10 years, it's still a good time to buy a house. North Carolina is a great place to buy a house.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing we want to help people understand is education of not just the market, but of where we're at and who we are and how we want to help you. And this is why we do these kind of things. And sure, it might only interest a handful of people or a certain niche of people, but at the same time, we want to help people think through. And you said a key word, navigate or guide through. Sometimes you can have all of the information in front of you, and it's still really difficult to make a decision. And that's where we can come alongside of you in that process while life is happening to you and make the real estate portion of all of the questions in your life just a bit more stress-free, just a bit more simple. That's really our heart in all of this, no matter the market. It could be crazy busy like it was 8 months ago, or it could be when Ashley was, just getting her success on in like 2008, 2009, 2010. No matter the timing or the market, we're here to help.
And that's the key is people sometimes equate real estate agents with people that just want to come in and make a sale and make some money.
Yeah.
That's a short-term, short-sighted view of how to be a real estate agent. I know that there are real estate agents like that. We are in for the long view, the long haul. We want to help you, whether that's buy or sell real estate today, or 6 months, or 6 years. We help enough families each year that one transaction, we want to help you do what's best for you. And we can give you that information. Our listing agents can come out and let you know without cost and say, this is what you're looking at for the value of a home today. This is how quickly we could sell it, we think. And I keep running the disclaimer, we think. We are very good at it. I mean, our listing agents, our buyer's agents, we practice, we educate, we do our homework. We are very good at this equation as to what value is. That being said, we also, just like the government, trying to raise interest rates and change inflation, it is our best opinion. So if you want a good opinion, let us help you get educated and give you options.
Absolutely.
We can move forward, whether that's sell in 2 weeks, sell in 2 years, or help you keep your house for 20 years and we just enjoy the relationship.
Absolutely. And I want to say, if you find value in any of this conversation, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It helps us out a ton down below in this video. Kevin, thank you so much. Any parting words of wisdom for anybody out there?
I don't know. The wisdom is the questions. So if you have any other questions, enjoy the opinions. And like I say, economics is a all-time, always question. So if you do have any questions, call us. We're just regular people. We're just trying to help people. And email or text or carrier pigeon, did meet somebody last week that actually races pigeons. We will help you any way we can. Just let us know how.
Sounds good. Thank you for your time, and everybody have a great day.